Hello, my name is Paul, and in this video we're going to look at slavery. What's really going to happen in slavery? They're not going to rape the women. They're not going to unjustly accuse us. In fact, we'll look at the Ten Commandments and see what the Ten Commandments say, whether they can do this or not. Here in the Ten Commandments we see two commandments: thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not bear false witness or tell lies. The black Hebrew Israelites are not going to start raping your wife, and they're not going to tell lies about you to have you beaten. This is absolutely false. If they think that God's going to let them get away with this, that's false. In fact, this is the reason why when Hebrews went to slavery in the first two times, because they didn't get these 10 commandments. The Hebrews need to repent, or else they could go into slavery a third time. Hebrew Israelites, you have to understand that you think you're going to get will be served you. That's not the case. It says in Deuteronomy 28, if you obey me, I'll bless you. But if you do not obey me, I'll curse you this day. And it goes through curses, including the second time of slavery. If you think that you're going to break God's commandments, and then God will bless you and let you rule over the whole of the United States, that's false. If you don't obey God, you're facing more curses, and it could mean that you could go into slavery a third time. Now, I don't want that. I'm telling you to repent for your own, that God will bless you. I'm trying to be your friend, but if you choose not to listen to me and choose to live in your self-exaltation and think that you're some sort of supernatural power because you've got the right chromosome of Jacob, which half the Negroes don't because they're sons and daughters of a white man who raped a black woman. They're Gentiles anyway. But you Hebrew Israelites in America who think that you are invincible, you are not. You failed in slavery the first time. You failed in slavery the second time in America. You killed the Messiah, Yahashua. You are not invincible. And if you do not repent, you're facing slavery a third time. I'm warning you. Look at what happened in the slavery in America. And then see if that's what you want. You have to make a decision. Really, the only alternative out of the curses is to keep all of God's commandments, and you must also love the Edomites and tell them to repent. We're all meant to be friends. For Hebrews are first, but you're also to love the Edomites as your friends. Younger brother, that's true. They're not the Hebrews are the older brother. I understand it. The firstborn of Shem, but you still to show compassion and love, and you've got to stop telling all these horrible things and all this self-exaltation where you're going to rule over people and you're going to beat the white people and you're going to rape the white men. That's got to stop. Rape has got to stop as well. You're not going to do that. And if you think God's going to give you a kingdom with those kind of beliefs, you do not know the scriptures. I'm sorry, but you're going into slavery a third time if you don't watch that. You've got to repent. Now I'm going to tell you how slavery is going to happen in the right way, not the way that the black Hebrews, like some black Hebrews, I think, but the correct way. Here is Darth Vader and Darth Sidious out of Star Wars. Darth Vader was raised on Tatooine. He was Anakin Skywalker and a slave when he was a little kid, and he hated slavery. But when he grew up and became Darth Vader, he found that the Emperor was winning slavery, and he went up to him and confronted the Emperor. And the Emperor said to Darth Vader, I apologized. He said, I'm sorry I haven't explained it beforehand. The Emperor explains to Darth Vader that the slavery that happened when he was a kid was forced slavery for some greedy man to make money off. The slavery that the Emperor says he's doing is for all humanity, for his kingdom. So the slavery on Star Wars that Anakin Skywalker had was actually for a greedy man. But yet the Palpatine says no, that's not the difference. And I'm going to explain the difference too, because I happen to agree with this. If the Hebrews do be faithful and do rule the earth, this is what's going to happen. They're not going to beat people. They're not going to make them greed, picking cotton in the field so they can make more money. That's not going to happen. That totally contradicts what the scriptures teach. The scriptures teach the love of money is the root of all evil. But we're not to be selfish. We're to help the stranger within thy gates. And I'm going to show you the true work that the Hebrew Israelites will do and get everyone to do. And it's not going to be picking cotton in the field. That's for greed. Although some of it will be, but I'll explain the true nature of what's going to happen. Maybe it's picking cotton, but it won't be for a single man to make a lot of money off. That slavery's been done away with, and God hates that slavery. I want to explain this again. Not all Negroes in America are Hebrew Israelites. Some are sons and daughters of a white man who raped a black woman. And here in this picture you can see for 3,000 years of intermarriage through Hebrews going all over the earth, there are some white Hebrew Israelites alive today. We all know the story about the woman in the well. Here's a well, and obviously when the Hebrews do well, we're going to get people to dig holes and build wells, not for their own greedy, selfish desires, but so that all poor people can have water. That no matter young and poor, old and young, rich and poor can all drink water. It's about helping humanity. And this is the kind of work that the Hebrews will get you to do. They will not get you to work on their fields for selfish desires. And here's another picture in creation how they had fruit trees everywhere. again, if in the Hebrews rule, they're going to get all people, all their workers to plant fruit trees so the poor people can have food. So there'll be no people thirsty, there'll be no people hungry. When the Hebrews do rule, we're going to get people to do good work for having all people. And they're going to help get you to build shelters as well, plant trees, dig wells. And yet the only people who are going to profit this are the people who are not Hebrew Israelites, although some Hebrew Israelites will profit off it as well. But all humanity is going to profit off these good works. The Hebrew Israelites are going to do a great and majestic work of ruling. They're going to do a lot better than anyone else before them. Look at this church. When the Hebrews take over, see all that green grass? They're going to plant fruit trees and vegetables everywhere so that everybody can eat from. They're going to make sure that nobody goes hungry. That's going to be the true divine purpose of the Hebrew Israelites. And that green field is going to have fruit trees and vegetables everywhere, and then all the poor people will be allowed to come to these places and eat. Today, the churches don't do this. They should do this, but you see the churches don't follow the Bible. They worship their church pastor. Here are the verses. It says in Genesis that Adam can eat from any tree, and in Leviticus 23:22 it says, when you have a field, leave the corners for the poor people. This is what the Hebrew Israelites, when they take over, this is the kind of work they're going to get their works to do. They're not going to make it be greedy. These divine precepts are not to help the Hebrew Israelites. The Hebrew Israelites will only be the rulers. These divine precepts, they help all the whole of humanity, especially the poor people. And you're going to see that Yahushua spent more time healing the sick and feeding the poor. And these two principles are going to be put into the Hebrew kingdom when it comes. The black Hebrew Israelites don't understand the true nature of God, or some do, but a lot of them misinterpret it. At the end, when the Hebrew Israelites do rule, this is what they're going to do. They're going to heal the sick, feed the poor, help the hungry, find big wells for the thirsty. This is what their work's going to do. This is the true work for getting others to do. It's going to help the whole of humanity. This is what's going to happen. That's what's the true nature of God in the Hebrew Israelites when it comes. So now we're going to find out who the Hebrew Israelites are. Again, I told you before, it's not about the skin color, it's about the birthright. Majority of Hebrews are black. I understand it, the Bible teaches that. But there are some white Hebrew Israelites today. And we're going to go through that right now. Who the Hebrew Israelites today, and there's a prophecy in Isaiah, and we'll have a quick look at that. Some of these prophecies have been misinterpreted, and I'm going to fix them up. We'll start. We know that if a Hebrew has white children due to intermarriage, over 3,000 years of intermarriage, the white children are Hebrew Israelites. So it's not about skin color. Majority of Hebrews are black, but there are some white Hebrew Israelites too, and we have to get this error fixed up. This prophecy in Isaiah, where it says his face shall not wax pale, doesn't mean that what it means is that the Jews in Israel as a whole, they're not God's chosen people, but the majority of the Hebrew Israelites are dark skinned, because we know that Reuben has a lighter complexion. He has less melanin than what some of the other tribes are. We also know that there are white Hebrew Israelites. So this prophecy in Isaiah is solely referring to that God says as a whole, the Jews in Israel today, the white Jews, are not God's chosen people. He says that their faces have not, the Negro faces have not changed white. The Negroes are still his chosen people, but there are still white Hebrew Israelites, and Reuben's still not as dark as some of the other tribes. This picture here explains it perfectly. It says the Negroes as a whole will not change to become the white Ashkenazi Jews in Israel. That's what Isaiah is talking about. It doesn't mean that there will be no white Hebrew Israelites. That's false. And Reuben's light, and we know that there are some white Hebrew Israelites due to 3,000 years of intermarriage. So the prophecy in Isaiah is solely referring to the Jewish nation in Israel today as a whole, and the Negroes in America as a whole. So we know not all Negroes in America are Hebrew Israelites. Some Negroes are children of a white man who raped a black woman. So we've got the wheat and the tares. But saying that, black people in America as a whole have been unfairly treated, and that's got to stop. White people in America, and the few that are rich, and you've got to start helping out the poor people, and that means helping out the Negroes. If there's a poor Negro in America, you've got to help them out. That's a good Samaritan rule. And you Negroes who have been NBA champions and on television, who've got money, you should also join. You may be very well be a Hebrew Israelite, but if you're not willing to obey God, like Judas, your Y chromosome means nothing. You may be a son of Jacob, but if you don't obey, you're better off being a Gentile. Remember, Judas is a Hebrew Israelite. He's lost. Japheth, the third son of Noah, is a Gentile. He's saved. It's better to be a Gentile and saved than to be a Hebrew Israelite and lost. But saying all that, white people as a whole, and a few rich black people, you need to start helping out the poor black people and the poor white people as well. You've got to start showing love. That's the problem in America. Hebrew Israelites as a birthright is one thing, but the unfair and cruel and unjust treatment of black people in America and the Native American Indians is an absolute disgrace. And it's got to stop. You don't have to be like your ancestors, your forefathers. You don't have to be like them. You can change. You can be a good servant of the Lord thy God. Even if you're not a Hebrew, you can be a good servant of the Lord thy God. It's a choice you have to make. Remember, Yahashua said the Good Samaritan, who was the one who healed the poor man. He didn't say the good Jew because the rabbi walked past and the rich man walked past. It was a Samaritan. The Samaritans are the people which the Jews hated. Yahashua said, these people who are not necessarily from your tribes and your Israelites, and yet do my will, my Father, they're my children. They might not be the Hebrew Israelites in the first one, but they're still my children. And you Hebrew Israelites who do not obey my Father and do not show love, you are not my children, even if you are a son of Jacob. So that's my video today, to say, hey, look here, if you're a Hebrew Israelite or not, you got to help the poor people out. You got to show love and compassion. You just do what you can. Watch my video on poverty. As for a Hebrew Israelite, who's a Hebrew Israelite? That depends on the white chromosome. That's not about skin color. There's Negro Hebrew Israelites, there's Negro Gentiles in America, because some of them are slaves, are children of the white man who raped a black woman. There are Hebrew Israelites all over. Most of them are black, and there are some white. Well,